Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series here today at Daytona with one of the technically biggest grids we ever had, but more on that later. Today I think will be very interesting. We've seen a very spectacular race last time out yesterday in Spa, and today at Daytona with the BMW M2. Lots of slipstreaming. I'm very much looking forward to it. But luckily I won't have to bring you through the evening alone, because as usual alongside me in the commentary booth is Tim Ireland.
Hello Lino. Hello everyone on Twitch. How are you guys doing? Yes, a bit different from yesterday. Another classic track in Daytona, but with the much lower powered M2s. A lot of slipstreaming to be done, like you said. A lot of cars that look exactly the same. Pesky, only one livery option. But we'll get through that fine.
We do know our drivers, and we will get to see certain drivers up front, so I know what we have to expect. But yeah, going into qualifying here right now, the drivers will have 6 minutes to put their lap times in. On board with yesterday's winner, with Enrico Bräuninger. He's having an extra challenge today because he's eating dinner while racing. We have talked about his nuggets consumption previously, but this time he's taking it a step further. But let's see what he can do. As said, won RCL yesterday in a very great display of skill and using his situation to his advantage. So let's see what he can do today in the BMW M2. He himself, of course, runs his own M2 series. So, definitely knows the car very well.
You'd hope so. You might give him a bit of a kind of home field advantage in a way, being that it's a car you should know pretty well. But that balances out with the eating while driving situation. Who knows? I think it depends what he's eating, though, as well. Like, is it soup? Is it noodles? I think these could all make it more difficult.
Well, I would suggest it would be something with nuggets again, but whatever it is, let's hope it brings him a bit of luck. Dominik Ladler, yesterday, tad unlucky. Maybe also forged his own luck a bit, but yeah, today, fresh out of the box, looking pretty quickly. 50.1 in the first sector is not too bad to start off with. Of course, most drivers will take a first safe attempt at putting in a lap time, because you only really get 2 attempts around here. But he's been quick around here. He's won previous races at this track and car combination. And I think you shouldn't counted him out of it.
No, for sure. He's definitely a driver that knows his way around a racetrack, and with this being the dreaded equal machinery on such a slipstream heavy track, I think tactics could come into it as much as anything else. We've all seen people leading out of the bus stop and then losing it by the time you get to the start-finish straight. There's not a lot you can do about it. So moves like that are going to be right in the front of people's heads for today's race, I think.
Yeah, I expect a lot of people to be able to fight up front on this track. Julian Checo, also one of them. Somebody who we haven't seen before in the RENNSPORT Road to Launch on any livestream series is Emil. A person I got to know, or I do know very well. But he's been driving in Enrico's BMW M2 League pretty successfully. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do. And same for Michael G, because he, while maybe sometimes struggling with the GT3s a bit, seems pretty quick in the BMW M2.
Well, as you can see on the leaderboard at the minute, Julian Secor is second by 1,000th of a second. Can't get much less of a margin than that.
And it doesn't seem like he's going to improve on this level. And the question is, does Dominik Ladler? He's putting in a new personal best in Sector 1. That's about 1.5 tenths quicker than on his first lap. Can he get it across the line to increase that distance, or will it stay at 1,000th of a second? Let's not forget those are also the first points to get in this race for the championship.
We've not got long for qualifying here on this format, so we haven't got a lot of time to improve. A couple of people already calling it a day. Dominic Ladler going half a second faster, so a bit less anger-inducing for Julian Chicot, I'd say.
Chico having a look at the pit entry there for a short moment. But yeah, that is pretty much qualifying done. We see Jason, aka Slowmo, you might know from the Discord, in 8th. Pretty good qualifying session there for him. But basically, Dominic Ladler alongside Julian Chicot. I think we've seen that before in other races. Ali Zaya in 3rd. We haven't talked about him at all actually today, but Ali Zaya, I mean, he doesn't really need any introduction. Most people are well acquainted to his presence. And then we have Enrico Bräuninger, Victor Rodriguez, a new driver on P4. Maybe we see something like yesterday with one of our Aston Martin drivers putting on a great show. In front of the GST drivers, Michael G and Emil. Then it's Jason, and the top 10 is rounded out by 2 NGSRT drivers in the hands of Piotr Zadaibe and Cesco Munuera. Now, going into turn 1, what do you expect? We have seen some certain other one-make series at Daytona in real life.
Well, in Daytona turn 1, it just seems to drag you in for a dive bomb, doesn't it? I think it's always seems to be a bit of a danger zone. There's plenty of space. Use it, please, for the love of all that is holy. Use that space. But I'm expecting some pretty sketchy moments. But hopefully the guys out front can come out nice and clean.
We will find out in just a moment. I can already see lights turning on the grid. That means we will be getting racing very soon. But yeah, going into turn 1, we can expect pretty much anything. Last time out at the Nordschleife, we had a bit of chaos coming our way, even with a way thinner grid. And of course, there's also a second split, which you can follow through the RENNSPORT app. If you go onto the current race and then on the top right hand, click on the split, you will also be able to see what's going on in the second split, which is usually a bit more chaotic than the first one, of course. But Dominic Ladler very keen on keeping the championship lead heading into round 3 next time out in Fuji. But I think Julian Chicot is looking for the victory, and we go racing here in Daytona. We need to go 3 right, further back already, but for the lead, Dominic Ladler with a good getaway in front of Julian Chicot. Side by side for P3, Enrico Bräuninger and Ali Zahir. Late braking, the cars moving a lot in that transition between the different tarmac types. And there's one car going slightly sideways in the background, but apart from that, it seems that everything has gone very smoothly. Michael G under attack on the inside from the 13 car. That is Piotr Zadaibe, who's going for about a half spin. Both able to keep the car somewhat pointed to the right direction though, and able to rejoin the race. But up front, Ali Zahir was able to get past Enrico Bräuninger and is now chasing Julian Chicot for second. These 4 have been super close yesterday. So I think we can expect the same here today. But here we go, on to the banking. Very tricky exit. You can see the cars bouncing a lot. It's super uneven. Car not as stiffly sprung as any of the GT cars. And Emil and Joel Soria also with great starts to themselves. 6th and 7th now. Starting in 8th and 11th, if I remember that correctly.
And Dennis Kurtz managing to make up 5 positions on the start there, and it's now up to 11th from a 16th start. A few people DNS'd in qualifying, so they're going to be struggling to get as up to speed and get past a bunch of people. So I'm sure the fighting down the back end of the grid is going to be a bit intense.
Yeah, definitely is already Joe Soria and Emil deciding to go side by side into bus stop. Emil definitely not getting the best end out of that. Cesco Monoya side by side with Jason. Cesco Monoya has more speed, uses the high banking, and now may be able to get by.
He's just creeped a little bit ahead. He seems to be losing out. Maybe a touch because he's on the outside, deciding better of it and braking early.
Oh, and Julian Chicot spun round in turn 1, and now he has to wait until he can get the car spun round. We've seen another car off. People really misjudging the braking into turn 1, and this is the worst position possible for Julian Chicot, who's lost out big time here at the start.
Yeah, big props to him for waiting there, because when you're that far up in a race, having to sit there and wait for all the cars to go past is painful. But he had absolutely zero visibility.
It leaves Dominic Lalo with a 1.6 seconds gap to Alizaya, with Enrico Berninger in hot pursuit of Alizaya. Only 7/10 behind. The top 3 now pretty much in a room of their own. As further fighting takes place in the background, P. Kosluk just made his way past OG Stan, who is also coming from very far down the grid. In front of them, Douglas Felix trying to put pressure on Dennis Kurzer, who you've mentioned just earlier.
Now, Joel Soria also making up 7 places already in the race. He's up to 5th place, and yeah, Douglas Felix making 6 places up. So we've got some pretty big movers already in the race. Maybe didn't quite manage to get one of the qualifying laps to up to the normal kind of racing pace.
Daytona definitely a track where the race pace is a lot more crucial than the qualifying pace. Because to get out of slipstream, you have to be able to sustain a high pace throughout. And it seems like Alizaya is having a better pace advantage over Dominic Ladler right now, because he's gained about 2/10 since we last checked on these two. He's going a bit wider through here, but costs him in the moment. In the long run of the straight, it could help him.
He seems to be, yeah, his last lap was about 2.5 tenths faster than Dominic Ladler, so he's creeping that gap a little bit closer. Be interesting to see how Enrico Breuninger decides to go when he catches up to him, if they're going to try to catch Ladler together or not.
Dennis Kurzer passing Cesco Monoya for 7th. Cesco has picked up some damage. I think that was the car we've seen in the wall when Julian Chicot was spun round in turn 1. Julian Chicot has found the end of the train, so he's slowly but surely making his way up the grid again. Right now behind Nicholas Kelly, who had a very good race yesterday, of course.
Yeah, there's a bit of a pack forming there, so I'm expecting some moves are going to be coming from that. They should be getting some good amounts of slipstream. They're nice and close to each other. So, a lot of move potential.
Someone who's trying to move is Joe Soria, at least showing himself into the bus stop in the mirror of Jason. And actually this worked like a charm, because Jason went very wide in the bus stop. Joe Soria put everything into the exit, and it's just, can see the speed differences is insane on the banking now.
Yeah, he sailed straight past there. I'm sure Jason down the banking, joining the slipstream, see if you can make a bit of that gap back up again.
And we go nearly 3 wide. Douglas Felix just behind P. Kosluk and Odie Stan, who trade positions. BMW M2s everywhere. Can already see some of them with battered cars. And we are still side by side here. That is for P10. That is not the fight for the lead. But these guys are fighting for every position. the 35-minute race. Don't get that much time around here. Now trying to prioritize the exit that has to slot into 11th for now.
Yeah, I think that's a battle that's going to go on for the rest of the race by the look of it. With that many cars involved, it's going to be difficult to get away.
Meanwhile, out front, Alizaya has really lost the second summer because he's 2.7 back from Dominic Lala. Has Enrico Breuninger just behind him. Is he trying to do a move?
I think these two have been battling, and it's compromised Alizaya's pace a little bit.
Enrico Breuninger going to the inside, braking at the same point. Can he make it work? Yes, he does. Beautiful move there by Enrico Breuninger to take second. But, of course, now he has to also defend from it going into turn 1.
Yeah, you can see Alizaya is a little bit back right now, but as the speed increases, he'll start to get a bit more overspeed. And that gap will close up pretty rapidly.
There you can see the effects of slipstream. But you don't really get past in this car. I made this experience myself by racing Dominic Lalla and Ron Hurt in Enrico's league for the lead of the race. You do get alongside, you can even get slightly ahead, but you will always be stuck. And then you have to make it like Alizai here around the outside of turn 1. And a very nice move to reclaim the lead. The fight for 10 to 12 or 8 to 12 has opened up a bit. So you can see some slight gaps forming. Audi Stan having Pete Kosluck still quite close behind him, but not too far. Joe Soria has also lost 5th position to Jason again, so something happened there. And meanwhile, completely quietly slipping up into 4th is Victor Rodriguez.
Yeah, he's got a good gap ahead of Jason. He's still quite a way behind Enrico Breuninger and Ali Zahir's battle, but he's got plenty of space. He's got time to do something. Still 25 minutes left. So if these two keep fighting and slowing each other down, it may well become a three-way.
Emil drag racing past Douglas Felix here, exiting the infield, getting more traction onto those rear tires. Balancing the car, really a very important thing in this. Julian Schicol up into 13th, he just got past Piotr Zadaibe. And Enrico Breuninger also lost out quite a bit of time to Alizai, but they're both now 3 seconds back from the leader of the race, from Dominic Ladler.
He's definitely playing into his hands for sure. He's just creeping away bit by bit as Breuninger and Zahir slow each other down.
Picosluke trying to make a move on Cesco. Now there we can see him in the picture. Cesco still with that front end damage that will cost him in top speed. And Kosluke around the outside. You have to be very cautious on the brakes, really balance the car on the front exit through that first turn. And Kosluke losing quite a bit of exit speed there because of that slide. So Cesco remains in 8th for now. But here comes the dive bomb from the NGSRT drivers, teammates between the two, and Picosluke makes it through with a very bold move, I'd say.
Yeah, I wonder if that was in any way orchestrated on voice chat. I don't know.
I don't think it was. But if you have your teammate behind, you're not gonna close the gap like that.
You wouldn't have thought so.
And the car we see in the background behind Douglas Felix, although he has picked up damage, but that is already Julian Schicco, so maybe he can at least drag a top 10 finish out of this. He's still got nearly 25 minutes on the clock to do so.
Yeah, he's closing in on Douglas Felix pretty quickly. He's just taken about a second out of him. He's lapping about 3 seconds faster, so he's definitely got the pace advantage. I think he could probably make top 10 here. He's still got plenty of time.
Josue again in the slipstream of Jason. The car ahead of these two, that is Victor Rodriguez. So they did make up some time to them, but if these two start fighting, it will of course cost them as well. Now where does Jason position his car in this fight? He's deciding to just take the normal line, doesn't defend too much, and does work. Just keeps the momentum up high. Odystan and Emil fighting for 10th place around here. Odystan, of course, with that damage in the disadvantaged position. Late braking. And Odystan going a bit wide, and that opens up the door for Emil in the number 6 BMW to just go through, and he does so.
You can just see in the background Julian Sikor overtaking Piotr Zadybal, I believe it is. Oh, sorry, it's Douglas Felix.
Bit of contact here between Joe Soria and Jason. Almost like they're bum drafting. I'm not sure if that is Joel's intention, but he probably doesn't want to make him another move into the bus stop right now.
No. I always find bus stop moves very scary. I'd never think it's a good idea.
Well, here he goes anyways. He brakes a bit early and he's going for the same move again he did earlier. And Jason is spinning out. Jason overdid it, going into the bus stop, lost the rear end and into the wall. So the pressure
just
tactics...
tried to run a little wide and leave a bit of space, but overcooked it a little bit there.
Pressure tactics from Joe Soria definitely worked there. Oh, and Dominic Ladler is off in turn 1. Ali Zaya now into the lead of the race. Not quite... There was no car around, so I'm not sure what caused him to brake too late here.
Doesn't seem to have any damage, so maybe it was just user error.
Meanwhile, Jason and OG Stan coming into the pits to repair their damaged cars.
And with those guys coming into the pits, that's already put Julian Sikor back in 10th position. So he's already hitting the top 10 with Chestu Monero ahead of him.
Also, Dennis Kurzer is now only 2 seconds behind Joe Soria. So the fight that Joe Soria had with Jason really cost him a lot of time to bring Dennis Kurzer back into the picture. The car just in front of them that is not for position, that is lap car. Because Victor Rodriguez is quite far up the road. And still he's doing a wonderful job to just keep it in position there, keep it out of trouble. And still 20 minutes left to go in this race.
Ali Zahir has been handed a bit of a golden ticket for a win position there, so I'm sure he'll just be trying to keep his head down and play it cool. He's got a 1.5 seconds lead over Enrico Breuninger. They run at fairly similar fastest lap times. So as long as he can keep it on the grey part of the track, he should be looking good.
Well, of course, for Ali Zaya, after yesterday's disappointment with his technical issues, it would be a nice thing to round out the weekend with another win to his name. But of course, for Enrico Breuninger, it would also be a hell of a weekend if he managed to walk away with 2 victories.
I think the main thing we're going to have to keep an eye on is Dominic Ladler's pace. If he did get any damage on it after that crash, or if he can get straight back on it with his previous pace.
Yeah, very much so indeed. We've seen it yesterday with his damage, that he was able to drag some pace out of the car for some time, but then struggled. So depending on if that is the case here today or not, that will also change things considerably. But now that things have calmed down a bit, at least for now, we have Emil trying to make a move on Krystall with Cisco just behind. And of course, as you said, Julian Chico is also closing in. But people now are able to set into a bit of a rhythm. We can see Enrico Bräuninger is definitely running the same pace as Alizar. It will be a question of if he can just slightly close the gap and get into the slipstream again. And
yeah, he's not far off slipstream range, is he?
Yeah, and of course he doesn't really have any pressure from behind right now, so he doesn't have to worry about defending from Dominik Lala as he had to previously with Alizar. Some of the unluckier drivers from the start have really made up some positions. Most notably, I think, Emil and Julian Chico. And also, I think Nicholas Kelly was at the far back end of the grid at some point after the start. Who, of course, had a very good race yesterday as well in the Porsche. Audi Stan and Jason after their pit stops. So we see Jason stationary there in turn 1. But they are out in 16th and 17th, just trying to bang some points. And one thing that is surprising me to a certain extent is that we still have all cars who took the start of the race still driving, as one of the cars is very wide, and that is Krystall. Didn't put a foot wrong yesterday. Today, though, running a bit wide here in the second horseshoe.
M2, a very different car to a GT3. If he's not been kind of practicing, getting up to speed, I'm sure it's fairly easy to get it offline.
Indeed it is. It can feel very abrupt at some point. Alizar and Enrico Bräuninger. And Dominik Lala approaching in a drift, but he's catching up to both Alizar and Enrico Bräuninger. He's cut the gap down to 4.5 seconds. His last lap 7/10 quicker than Alizar here. And actually the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Dominic managed to keep his car pretty clean in that little turn 1 spin. There's plenty of room in turn 1. You've got a lot of runoff area, so just a little mistake, but he's back on it, doing Dominic Ladler things.
The big question for me would be if he approaches Enrico Bräuninger with, let's say, 8 minutes left to go. So in 3 to 4 laps, if he can keep up the pace. Would he try to bump draft with him, potentially, to get up to Alizar? Wouldn't be the first time we see it like that. Or will he just try to salvage second position?
Yeah, it's a good point. They've definitely got options between them. So we'll see what happens. Still got 2 seconds back to Dominic Ladler, so he doesn't have to worry about it just yet, and he definitely doesn't want to be slowing down so that Dominic Ladler can bump draft. So I don't think it's something he needs to worry about for a few minutes yet. But then there's going to be some furious head mathing going on about what's the best way to go forward.
And again, drifting out of turn 1. To a certain extent, can be quick with this car. I guess all the top runners running TC0 in this one. But of course it eats into your tire life. Dominic Ladler currently points leader in both active championships, in RCL's Season 7 and in the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series after race 1.
Of course, this is the Road to Launch series, and this week we have announced when the actual launch date of the game is going to be. So you have a fairly good idea of when this is going to be finishing, I suppose, anybody with a calendar.
That is a very good point you make there. Of course, the series will run right up until we actually launch on 13th of November this year. But we still stick to the formula that we won't quite tell you how the calendar is looking. So next week we will be going to Fuji, and I'm very much looking forward to Fuji because we haven't seen it in quite a while. But it usually delivers great racing. And after that you will be you will get to know the next race at each subsequent weekend. So next week you will know what round 4 will be, and so on and so forth. I think it will be interesting to see which drivers may have advantage due to that, because we typically always see some drivers stronger at certain tracks than others.
Yeah, and Fuji's an interesting track. It's got a good mix of corners, but it's got quite a lot of high-speed sweeping corners. Maybe not the most suited ones to the M2 with its lack of downforce. It can really wreck your tires if you get it wrong.
Yeah, indeed it does. Dennis Kurzer 6 seconds back from Joe Soria, so he's dropped off quite a bit.
Dennis Kurzer has made up 10 places from where he qualified, so he's still our big winner as far as place gain is concerned. But Joel Soria also made up 7 places, so he's not doing too bad either.
Meanwhile, Julian Chico diving down the inside of Emil to take 7th place, and I think even with the damage on the car, he can't be too unhappy about what he is doing. Oh, and P. Kostelu coming together with, I think that was Cesco Monet. We've seen him drifting into the picture off the track there earlier, and I think he just couldn't get the car steered towards the outside of the track, so the car just oversteered inward and into his teammate, which of course you don't like to see, but nothing really he could have done.
No, he just seemed to lose control of the car, and he was a bit of a passenger by that point, which is unfortunate for him, that's for sure. Now, Enrico Breininger seems to have dropped back from Ali Zahir, whereas Dominic Ladler now only 0.4 seconds.
Still has 10
Enrico
minutes.
Seems to have had a bit of a bad last lap. Did a 58.2.
Maybe the pressure is getting to him. Dominic Ladler to the outside, a bit earlier on the brakes, just within track bounds.
He took a very wide line there.
But great defense there by Enrico Breininger. Very confident on the brakes. The outside not as grippy as the inside, which with GT3s and their downforce is not as noticeable as with the M2s. Fortunately, just get notification that OG Stan has DNF'd from this race. Dominic Ladler again with a great exit out of the horseshoe. We have now lapped car in between Alizaya and this following pack as well. Oh, Dominic Lalla very sideways somehow keeps it under control. But that is gonna lose him quite some speed.
Yeah, it is not a place you want to be losing speed either. He's going to be losing time all the way around this section.
Maybe he's getting a bit lucky with the traffic though, because he might actually get unlucky. Very well done there. I'll let you know who it was in just a moment's time. I think it might have been Marcel Vollbracht. And yes, indeed it was.
Well, Dennis Kurtzer was snaking, sorry, Dominic Ladler was snaking his way around the track. Dennis Kurtzer managed to sneak past Joel Soria, so he's now gained 11 places from his starting position. Doesn't seem like it's over just yet, though. Joel Soria not giving the position up lightly.
He's shown yesterday he's a fighter. He definitely has the pace. One thing that's of course very interesting for most drivers around here is that many of them will have a race later, and Joe Soria with a much better exit out of bus stop. Just blasting by Dennis Kurtzer, but I don't think it's done just yet with turn 1 coming up. Because now Dennis Kurtzer with the side draft. Back out in front.
Yeah, you could really see how powerful the side draft was there. He really made a comeback.
Yeah, of course, with this car, with the mechanical part of the grip being so big, as we still go side by side into the horseshoe, and I think Joe Soria should have it if he can keep Dennis Kurtzer behind on the brakes, and he can. Now everything's on the exit, but Joe Soria got that covered as well. Very well done there by the Spaniard. But coming off the banking is actually also a huge speed boost. And actually I've spoken too early because Dennis Kurtzer is now going side by side in the second horseshoe, trying to go the long way around.
Trying to square the corner off a bit and get the run coming out, and just deciding to back off as they come back onto the banking again. As long as he hasn't lost too much time, this is a good place to try and catch back up again.
It's all playing into the hands of Victor Rodriguez though, because now 9 seconds back, I don't think Joe Soria will be able to make up that time in 5 minutes. And Dennis Kurtzer actually indicating to the left hand side, showing him where he is going to attack. Just blasting by on the straight. Oh, but going wide and over the curb. Somehow doesn't end up in the barrier like Jason did previously, but now on the grass, losing it and going into the wall anyway. And look who's back. It's Julian Chicot who will, I think, be able to take that position off with the speed advantage he has now.
Yeah, he's closing up pretty fast. If he doesn't catch entirely up, he'll get very, very close.
Dominic Lala still 8/10 back from Enrico Bräuninger. And also Alizaya has put a new overall best lap time with a 157.3.
Sakura all over the back end of Kurtzer there, running a little bit wide out of the international horseshoe.
Both, I think, equally damaged at this point.
They both look pretty on par, don't they?
Dominic Lala now with a good chance after Enrico Bräuninger was stuck in traffic. The 17 car of Michael G. They're all teammates, but you can't just disappear into thin air, of course. And going towards the outside. This time later on the brakes into turn 1 around the outside, and again with a bit of a slide, but makes it count and get past Enrico Bräuninger. So up into second, Dominik Lala goes. But still, Ali Zaya 3.8 seconds in front with 3 minutes left on the clock.
Although they are teammates, I don't think Enrico Bräuninger's just going to give up. He's still 6/10 behind. He could try and make a move again, potentially.
And Julian Chicot is bump drafting Dennis Kurzer. He's trying to get to Joel Soria.
They've got a long way to go, but it's the only chance either of them are going to have to get into the top 5.
And Julian Chicot a bit blocked there by Dennis Kurzer.
Maybe getting a bit over-eager. Don't do bump drafting during corners, Julian.
Gap is 7 seconds. Don't think that will be really achievable in that amount of time. Some further position changes down the road.
No. It looks like he's maybe decided to just go for it by himself, but not able to get past just yet.
Meanwhile, Alizaya is starting the final lap of this race. Dominik Lala 9/10 in front of Enrico Bräuninger. And still Victor Rodriguez. He may be 37 seconds behind Enrico Bräuninger, and more crucially, he is 9 seconds ahead of Joel Soria.
I wonder if with some clean air ahead of him, like Dominik Ladler's got now, he's not immediately having to worry about Enrico Bräuninger behind. Is he going to try and grab back that fastest lap points?
The question is, can he do so without slipstream? I'm not sure when Alizaya set the lap time, but if it was with the slipstream of a lapped car, then it will be very hard to take that one back, as Julian Chicot is now this time trying to go for the move on Dennis Kurzer on the high side, but you can really see the car's just stalling out earlier than Dennis Kurzer's car is. But better on the brakes.
It seems to not quite have the top end speed. It must have just been damaged slightly differently.
They pretty much have nothing to lose at this point. They have 8 seconds to P. Kosluk in P8, and they have 6 seconds to Joel Soria in P5, so nothing to gain or to lose here on the final lap of this race. For Alizar, however, took the chance when Dominik Lala made one little misstep in this race, took the lead, got the fastest lap, and he is going to cross the line in first. He's going to win round 2 of the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series. Dominik Lala will come home in P2. And Enrico Bräuninger, what a weekend it was for him. A victory in RCL and another podium in the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series.
Yeah, he's got to be pretty happy with his weekend's work, surely. See some celebratory donuts going on between the top 3 that are in the nearest thing we have to winner's lane.
That's always fun to do, though. And I think Julian Chicot... Oh, this could be a close one. Victor Rodriguez will cross the line in 4th, Joel Soria in 5th. But who will be 6th? Will it be Dennis Kurzer or Julian Chicot?
Chicot's catching up pretty quick, but he's not got long left.
The question is, does he have the power out of the slipstream? He has the speed. He's going to the outside. 25 thousandths of a second. The delta is slowing down. And it's Dennis Kurzer by 7 thousandths of a second.
It might not have been the race that you wanted, but he had a pretty good race by the end of it. I'm sure he's going to be fairly happy with that.
I'm pretty sure he is. I mean, they both been at the end of the road, basically. And still coming home in 6th and 7th with a nice photo finish. So we see the last few cars on track finishing this race. Yeah, what do you think? I think it was a very interesting race, lots of action. And I wouldn't have expected the midfield to be this fierce.
No, I mean, you kind of expect it as long as they can stay together, really. But it got a little bit chaotic and a little bit splintered apart, but they stayed together enough to have some interesting fights going on, and I think that's always what makes it a good sim race, is where you've always got someone to battle with. I'm sure some people might feel a bit hard done by for a position or whatever, but overall I think they'll have had a fun time, and that's the important part.
It very much is so indeed. We're just verifying some results. Of course, there will also be the second split, but that will be looked at later. For now, the points have of course changed a bit after this race, and it's been a lot of points that are awarded for this one. Still have the same championship leader, of course winning from the Nordschleife last time out. But there we have it. It's Dominik Ladler on 50 points in front of Julian Chicot on 31, still hanging on to that second place in the championship. Ali Zaya on 29, Enrico Breuninger on 28. So very tight for that second position in the standings. Dennis Kurz and Cesco Munera close together with Piotr Zadalbe, who in the end was able to climb to 10th in this race. Also climbing up to 7th in the championship. Victor Rodriguez with his great 4th place here today, up into 8th in the standings. And I think a lot of drivers can be very happy of what they achieved. And the championship is wide open going into Fuji next week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Dominic's got a fairly decent gap at the front, but the Breuninger Zahir Seiko battle is wide open right now. Dennis Kurtzer sneaking his way into that, and then it's pretty tight all the way down. So plenty of points available in the remaining races, however many that may be. So yeah, I'm looking forward to some fantastic Fuji fighting.
Indeed. As said, next week, same daytime, we will be going to Fuji, and afterwards will be surprise. It is a very proven track that is coming after Fuji, so I'm very much looking forward to that one as well. But yeah, I'd say this wasn't it for today from Daytona though, because later on Foxcat 15s and Enrico Breuninger's channels there will be the GTRC race at this track with GT3s. So if you're interested to see more racing here in RENNSPORT, make sure to head over to their channels. They will surely share them in the Discord. I'd say have a nice weekend and see you next time about.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.